Okay, so
Yeah.
introduction. So we are doing a new perek of Tehilim that I have not learned inside before. As I mentioned in the shiur announcement, be prepared to be confused. Be prepared to work. This is like, okay, I gotta say this just for myself. I mean, like, I know that there's different styles of shiurim, but like, this is real learning, man. I mean, like, we struggle, we get good ideas some days and we don't get good ideas others. So we're gonna, if you want to work for your Torah, then this is the chavurah for you. If not, then like go to YU Torah and listen to their spoon-fed shiurim. Not to insult them, but I'm sure you'll find spoon-fed shiurim on there. Okay, so why did I pick this perek?
Because it's the crowning pasuk of Sefer Mata.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a Rambam B'kiyus chavurah, and the Rambam has a crowning pasuk of every Sefer of the 14 Sefarim of the Mishnah Torah, plus one for the Mishnah Torah as a whole. And this one is the crowning pasuk for Sefer Hamada comes from this perek. And so in my Rambam B'kiyus chavurah, we went over it in isolation, but I wanted to learn it in context, and that led me to this perek. So I've never learned this perek before. I've just done the work of translating it and like thinking about it initially, but we haven't worked on it in depth. So the plan, I think today will be translation and question day and maybe initial theorizing day, and then we'll try to hope to come up with a new idea or like a main idea and work it all out on Thursday. Okay, that's the plan. Okay, so here we have, all right. And I have this translation on the screen, which is the Robert Alter translation, but I'm willing to be flexible, okay? And we'll modify it as we go. All right, Lam Natseach le'eved Hashem leDavid. So Lam Natseach is like a term that appears in a lot of Mizmorim. They usually translate it as like for the leader or for the conductor. And there are a lot of opening phrases in Tehilim that are musical indications, okay? So I'm not touching that. It's its own sugya. Look up Lam Natseach the first time it appears, and you'll see the Mefarshim talk about it. So for the conductor, okay. But le'eved Hashem leDavid intrigues me. Does that intrigue you?
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah. Why does that intrigue you?
Because it's like defining who David is.
It is, but more than that, who do you associate Eved Hashem with? Moshe, right? I'm pretty sure, and I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure the only two people that are called Eved Hashem are Moshe and Yehoshua. So it's high praise. Certainly in Chumash, the only person called Eved Hashem is Moshe, So like, that's very big. Okay.
What about Eliyahu? I'm not.
Really? Okay, that could be. I
don't know. I'm asking.
Don't know all of Nevi'im, Yeah, so I don't know. If you find it, let me know. Okay, so Eved Hashem leDavid. What do you make of the Lamed?
Same as Lamed Natseh.
So what do you make of the Lamed?
like he's the one who composed it.
Okay, so one possibility is he's the one who composed it. The other possibility is it's about him.
On behalf of him?
It's what?
Commissioned on behalf of him or just for his honor?
Commissioned on behalf of him. I like that. Yeah. So by the way, so Shimon, if you've like probably learned more Tehilim than I have, so feel free to jump in with any stuff you've learned from like high school and such. He was saying at one point how his high school Rebbe also held by the pivot point theory.
Really?
The only other person I've ever heard of who holds by the pivot point theory. So that's like, and I know that I don't know his Rebbe personally, but like I've read his stuff. Not on Tehilim, but like he knows what he's talking about. So like, yeah. So and anyone else, that goes for anyone else also. I just happen to know Shimon went to had Tehilim here in high school, but yeah. So either written by David or for David on behalf of David. So we don't know. Okay. Yeah. Don't worry. It's okay. Everyone has the catchphrases. Rambam's is Yis Aleh. All right. Now it gets grammatically weird. Ne'um pesha la rasha. So ne'um means says or saith. Pesha is rebellion or sin or offense. La rasha is to the wicked. So Alter translates it as the, in quotes, inclination to rebel, says to the wicked, bekerev libi, within my heart. I gotta read the whole pasuk. So here's how I would translate it, and then we'll see the Alter after. Ne'um pesha la rasha, says offense to the Russia in the midst of my heart, Ein pachat Elohim leneged einav. There's no fear of God opposite his eyes. So the pronouns are all messed up here. So you see that also translates it as the inclination to rebel says to the wicked within his heart, there's no fear of God before my eyes. So it changes the libi to libo and enav to enai. And that makes total sense to me. The only thing that doesn't make sense is why didn't David write that? You know? So the other way to say it is num pesha larasha. Pesha says to the wicked, Bekerev libi, in my heart, in the heart of Pesha, ein pachat Elokim leneged einav. There is no fear of God in front of his eyes. And then the other possibility is David is speaking, and he's saying, I don't know what Pesha Larasha is, but Bekerev libi, in my heart, in David's heart, ein pachat Elokim leneged einav. There's no fear of the Russia before his eyes, before the Russia's eyes. So that makes sense in terms of like there's no fear in front of the Russia. So the whole question, yeah.
The only one that makes like sense to me.
Yeah, I like altars. It just doesn't make sense to me in terms of the words in the Hebrew.
In
Yeah.
terms of the words.
Yeah.
And like thinking about it, that's the only one that makes sense.
Yeah. It's messed
What
up.
was being said?
What was that?
We couldn't quite catch.
He said that the only one that makes sense to him is the third one, which is David is saying that there's no fear of God. There's in my heart. Well, I don't know what my heart is.
Yeah, but it's something having to do with his reflection.
He's reflecting and he's saying that there's no fear of God before the Russia's eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who's it talking about? Who's talking? Who's being talked about? That big question.
Maybe in his mind.
In his mind, yeah.
Would this be like the methodological point where like we zoom out and look at the whole and then maybe like go back and see like grammatical?
That'll definitely help, yeah. Or it'll help / hurt. So let's look at the next one and it'll help / hurt. Okay. Ki hechalik elav be'enav, so same pronoun, because it smoothed out for him in his eyes. Limtso avono lisno, to find his iniquity to hate.
Is hechalik like hifil? Will that help us determine the subject?
I don't think it'll help us determine subject, but it is hefil. It's smoothed out. So I assume
like
this
for
is
himself.
No, not for himself. I think the subject is Pesha, right? Because that's Nu'um Pesha LaRasha. Pesha was hechlik enav be'enav, smoothed out for him in his eyes.
Never mind.
So the altar translates it as caressed him with his eyes, to find his sin to hate. Now that's a literal translation, but to find his sin to hate, there we'll see when we look at the Mefarshim, it's not clear what that means. Does it mean God hates the sin? Does it mean the sinner hates the sin? Does it mean sin hates the sin?
Or the sin is hating?
The sin is hated.
Or hating. Maybe the hating is what the sin is.
Lisno, right? I mean, that does make sense. Avono lisno, his sin is to hate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the confusing part. Okay. Now it gets smoother to read at least. Okay. Divrei piv aven umirma. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. Chadal lahaskil lahetiv. He has ceased to comprehend to do good. No, that's chardal. Yeah, chadal is to cease. Chidlu lasos ra is Yirmiyahu or Yeshayahu, one of the Nevi'im. Aven yachshov al mishkavo. He contemplates iniquity on his bed. Yisyatev al derech lo tov. He sets himself up on a path that's not good. Ra lo yimas. He does not despise bad.
So can you read the last one again?
Aven, yeah, the hey. Dalan hey. Divrei fiv aven umirma. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. Chadal lahaskil lahediv. He has ceased to comprehend to do good. Aven yachshov al mishkavo. He contemplates or will contemplate iniquity on his bed. Yisyativ al derech lo tov. He will set himself up on a path that's not good. Ra lo yimas. He will not despise evil. Oh, I got to say a thing about Tehilim. Tenses make up what you want. If it's past tense or present tense or future tense, it could be either of the other ones. That's what I've learned from the Mefarshim. Things that are said in future tense could really be past tense. Things that are said in past tense could be future tense. Things that are said in past tense could be present tense. Just make it whatever you want. Okay. I mean, learn it based on the context. Like if it is talking about David's history, then it's probably past tense. If it's talking about Klal Yisrael, it's probably future tense. but like there are very few rules. Okay.
This is I'm not good with pronouns, and pronouns are important.
I don't even know if pronouns are important. Yeah. Okay. Vav. Hashem b'hashamayim chazdecha. Hashem in heavens is your kindness. Emunascha ad shachakim. Your faithfulness is up until the upper heavens. I think shachakim are just the heavens above the heavens. Tzidkaska kahare el mishpatecha tahom raba adam uvehema toshia Adonai. Where do you recognize that from?
Toshia. Isn't that Torah?
Yeah. Where do you recognize it from more?
Initially.
No.
What?
Where do we say this pasuk every week?
Mincha and Shabbos?
Mincha on Shabbos.
Right before Kaddish.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Is that just
Mincha.
like-
Isn't that Tzidkas
Adam
Chatzedek?
Uvehema Toshia Adonai. What was that?
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, it's in Tzidkas Chatzedek. Yeah.
So wait, it might be before Kaddish, depending if you daven this around.
Exactly. Yeah. I had to think about that also. Yeah. So it's, we say it in Tzidkas on Mincha of Shabbos. Tzidkasacha kahare kel. So your righteousness is like the mountains of God. And I'm going to say this now, even though the Mefarshim will say it. Harare kel, whenever it uses God in, I don't know if this is just a Tehilim thing or it's an odd thing. God is often used just as a magnifier. So for example, Ir Lelokim, a city to God, that's what is described as Nineveh as in Yonah. It was not a city to God. So the Mefarshim say it means a big city. Okay, Harekel is
So odd though to use God's name as a magnifier.
Well, because it is right. Another one of the few pasukim that says Shalhavesya, the flame of God, just means a big fire. So it is a thing. It doesn't need to mean like godly or associated with God. Yeah, Isaac.
I feel like that's problematic for like everything we've been doing the past week in Rambam.
But it's God. It's not Yuke Vavke. And Kel is just power.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's what the Mefarshim say. So I'm sticking with it. Yeah. So it could just mean big mountains. Okay. Not necessarily mountains of God. All right. Tzidkaska karekel. Your righteousness is like the mountains, is like big mountains. Mishpatecha tom rabba. Your justices or your judgments are like the great depth. Adam uvahema toshia ad Hashem. Man and beast or an animal, you Hashem save. Okay. Ma yakar chasdecha. How precious is your kindness, Elohim, God. Uvnei Adam b'tel kanafecha yechasayun. And mankind in the shade or in the protection or in the shelter of your wings, they will take refuge. Yeah, Isaac.
So this is according to the way the Kudos are. It's Ma yakar chasdecha Elohim.
Oh, okay. That works also. Yeah. Did I not translate it that way? I thought I did. I thought I said, how precious is your kindness, God.
Uvnei Adam is the stuff is Adam.
Oh, God and man.
Yeah. The way that this breaks it up actually it breaks it up before that, but
I don't know what you're saying now. Let me look at it with my own eyes.
I'm confused too.
Oh, that is weird. Yeah. It says the Asnata is under Adam, but the verse break is in the middle of Elohim and Bnei Adam. Yeah, I'm gonna ignore it. Maya karchaska Elohim, uvnei Adam b'tel kanafecha yechasayun. I mean, grammatically, that's the way you have to read it. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Bali Masor. Yeah. All right. Yirvyun mid. What was it?
Do we like? Does it have the same like Masorah-iness?
It does. I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it does. Actually, I don't know. I think it does. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. But if Unkelos can ignore it in the Chumash, then we can ignore it too.
I thought it doesn't ignore it.
Yeah, he does. And that's the famous V'haya Adam Ka'achad Mimenu Ladas Tovara. Right? Because the pasuk says, I gotta read the pasuk. Hold on. Gotta stop sharing. Oh, was I sharing the whole screen? Maybe I was sharing the whole screen. All right, so maybe I didn't have to stop sharing. This is the Unkelos violation. We have to learn this because this is a yesod. It's true. When man gets kicked out of Gan Eden, Hashem says in pasuk Chaf Beis, Gimel Chaf Beis in Bereshis, V'yomer Adoshem Elokim, Hein ha'adam, V'yomer Adonai Elohim, Hein Adonai Elohim, Hein ha'adam haya ke'achad mimenu ladas tov v'ra, V'ata pen yishlach yadoho, Lakach gam me'eta chayim v'achal v'chai l'olam. So it's under ke'achad mimenu, okay, ladas tov v'ra. So Unglus translates it. Let me look at the Unglus here. As Chaf Gimel, Chaf Beis, V'amar Hashem Elokim Adam Hava Yechida'a Be'alma. Man has become one in the world. Pause, breath, exhale. Mimneh lemida tav ubish. From him is to know good and bad. And the Rambam takes it that way also, meaning that not ke'achad mimena, but ke'achad, pause, mimena ladas tovara. So that's that. If Onkelos can do it, if Onkelos can ignore the tamim based on the idea, then so can we.
Yeah, especially given that Rosh Chaim is doing that too.
Yes, yeah. Rosh Chaim does not rank as high as Onkelos on the Targum chain. Yeah. Okay. So then Tess says Yurviun mideshem beisecha v'nacha adas. Yeah.
Finish translating. Sorry.
Ma yakar chastecha Elokim, how precious is your kindness, God. Uvnei Adam betel kenefacha yichasayun, and mankind or man in the shelter of your wings, or in the shade of your wings, they will shelter. Yeah. Yurviun mideshem beisecha. So this is they will be sated from the abundance of your house, is how Alter translates it. V'nachal adanachas hashkem, and the stream of your delights or your delicacies, you will give them drink. That's from one of the Zmiros.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think it's from the same Zmira that
Like Kosi Ravaya.
It's in my head.
yeah. Yeah, that one. What's that? What's the Zmira? Because it quotes the
David at the end.
No, it's not Mishra David. That's a perek in Tehilim. I mean, this is too, but that's not that is. Yeah, it's not Kirch Mer Shabbos. It's
Sudash Lishi. You did Nefesh?
What was that?
You did Nefesh?
No, it's not that.
No,
We'll
it's
get
Friday
it.
night. It's a Friday night song.
It's Friday night song. Yeah, yeah. Anyway,
Sorry, Alan.
Yud ki imacha makor chaim. Yeah, you'll find it. Because with you is the now. I'm translating makor. I think I actually modified the English translation here. Yeah, makor is wellspring. Okay, I think Alter translated as source, and in English, source is more ambiguous, but in Hebrew, it's wellspring. Yeah,
It's from Kol Makadosh.
Kol Makadosh, yeah, and I think they also quote the next pasuk, which is the one that we're focusing on. So hold on just a second. Ki imcha makor chaim be'orcha nireh or. From with you is the source or the wellspring of life. In your light we see light. Mishol chastecha. No, that's Mishol chastecha liodecha. Mishol chastecha. Yeah. Is that the same Zmira?
No. Yeah. It is.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's earlier though.
It's earlier. Okay. Fine. So this is the crowning pasuk of the Mishnah Torah here of the Sefer Torah, Sefer Hamada. Mishol chastecha liodecha v'tzidkascha liyishrei lev. Extend your kindness to those who know you and your righteousness to the upright of heart. Okay, that's what our side goal, our side quest is to figure out what that pasuk means in isolation. If you want to know what it means, not in isolation, in context. If you want to know what it means in isolation, then listen to the Rambam shiur on that pasuk on 36:11. All right, al tevu'eni regel ga'ava, do not. This is also hard to translate. Al tevu'eni regel ga'ava, do not let the foot of haughtiness come to me. What does the Alter say? Let not the foot of arrogance come to me. Okay, fine. V'yad rishaim al tanideni, and do not let the hand of the wicked move me, or nad is like to disturb or to move. All right, then this last one's also pronoun-wise problematic. Tense-wise. Sham naflu poale avin dochu v'lo yachlu kum. So I would translate that as there, the doers of iniquity fell. Dochu, they were pushed aside, v'lo yachlu kum, and they were not able to get up. Alter translates it. Oh, I think I actually changed the Alter here. Maybe this is my translation based on the Alter. I don't remember anymore. I typed it out, but I think I made changes as I went. Yeah, Isaac.
So I've been following along in Targum because I can't help it because it's right out of the pasuk.
Okay.
And I definitely didn't understand parts of it, but he has an interesting like different way that he translates it. Translates the last pasuk.
Yeah. Oh, so let me display the targum on the screen so that people can see. Last pasuk is Yud Gimel. Yeah.
Someone is following of the Shikar. They're called the doers of falsehood.
Falsehood. Yeah.
Yidachian v'lo Yosefun when they come. They fall and they don't like
Get up again.
Yeah, get up again.
Yeah.
Not that they don't continue to stand, but they'll get up again.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. So did anyone catch the pivot?
I thought that it pivoted from talking about Russia to not talking about Russia.
Yeah. Where is
And then
that?
went back to Russia.
What was it?
And then it went back to Russia.
Oh, you're right. It went back to the Russia at the end. But I think that's debatable.
Mhm.
Right. So where's the pivot?
After 5.
Yeah. So 1 through 4. I mean, or I guess really more 2 through 4, but like, one's just the intro. Is talking about the Russia. Sorry, through 5.
Through 5,
Yeah, through 5. Yeah, yeah.
5.
Yeah, through end of 5. Yeah. And then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is talking about Hashem, right? And then 12 and 13 is debatable, right? Because it's talking about
The
It's a
hinge
book-
method.
yeah, it's talking to Hashem. Let not the foot of arrogance come to me,
Right.
and then the wicked move me. So it's talking about the wicked, but it's asking Hashem. And I feel like the 13 is connected to 12. Whatever we say that is. Yeah. Okay. So the question, again, we got to keep our eye on the ball here. So let's focus on 1 through 5 and understand what that's saying. Okay. Now, because ordinarily I would suggest we try to understand this on our own, but because it's so difficult, because just the reading is so difficult, I suggest we look at one of the Mefarshim. And of the Mefarshim I looked at, even though Radak is my bro, the Meiri I think is better here. Yeah.
Just as a
For Meiri Tehilim, consider.
Hold on just 1 second,
Tehillim.
Shayla. Yeah, Joe.
Oh,
second
sorry.
point, when you mentioned the tenses, not really matter.
Yeah.
So like I noticed in the footnote, the article footnote quotes Radak saying on the last pasuk that in prophetic vision, future events are described as are
Yes,
transpired.
that's one of the principles that is emphasized, is that the Nevi'im speak of future events in the past tense because they're so certain that it's as if it already happened.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem, right? Yeah, so you can't tell if they're talking about the past or the future. Yeah, good point. Yeah, Shayla.
Yeah, I was just curious because when we think of tefillah, we think of them in like that formula of like the shavach, the bakasha, and the hoda. And I'm wondering here, like I'm noticing like these size tehillims, we tend to have our pivot towards 6 or 7, and like he kind of like opens, then he says a little bit about how it applies, and then he brings it back as like a request or like something personal. I'm just wondering if like the tehillim have like a theme, like where we can have like something that happens to tefillah, like that 3-part formula. Like I'm wondering if there's a formula.
I don't know enough to universalize. I gotta learn about a couple dozen more Tehillim first. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at for the rest of tonight. Let's just look at the first. What do we say? 5 pasukim. Let's look at the Meiri. Okay, and then just try to define the first half. Okay. So Lam Natzech Eved David Leved Hashem LeDavid. Okay, so Meiri on the bottom right says Lam Natzech Eved Hashem LeDavid. V'gomer Nir Shazeh Mizmor Nemer Al Ktsas Nivalim. Oh, okay. So Nivalim. How do you translate Nivalim?
Carcasses.
Say again.
Carcasses.
Oh, that's a third option. I thought you were going to say an instrument, and then I was going to say a scoundrel. But then carcasses are also like nevela, yeah. Okay, so I think here you mean scoundrels. Okay.
It's probably not carcasses.
Yeah. Okay, you'll see.
I was trying to remember what instrument it is.
What kind of scoundrel? Yeah, I don't know what I think. Nevel v'chinor, right? Yeah. What kind of scoundrel? So you'll tell me what you think this is. Mischastim umarim talpehem laharos atzmon kibale emuna. Mischastim means they piefy themselves. No, it doesn't mean slap themselves in the face with a pie. They make themselves. So this is the reflect. We came across this in Mishlei last week. The reflexive in Hebrew primarily means Sorry, he's primarily means reflexive. You do an action to yourself, but it also means to pretend. So mischastim means they pretend that they're pious. Umarim talpehem. What's that mashal? Yeah, what does talpehem mean?
Children.
That's
No,
tough.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's tough. And this is not tafel like side dish. That's like with a tough. They show their hooves. What is that? The pigs, right? So the pigs show their hooves to say, "Look, I'm kosher," but they really don't chew their cud, right? So they show their hooves, laharos atman kibale emuna, to show off as though they have emuna. Okay, so that's the subject of the pasuk according to the Meiri. Okay, now I know when we learn Mishlei, we try to figure it out on our own, but we don't know how to learn Tehilim as well. So we're learning the Meiri. Okay, so that's what he says the subject of the pasuk is. Let's follow his lead. Uvakirbam irvam, but their ambush is in their midst. So they in their hearts they hold ambush. Okay, we'll see what the ambush is. Lachbor, he says, lachbor bepinos ha'emuna v'yesodosa, to deny the cornerstones of emuna and its foundations. Okay, so these are people who pretend to be holy, but inside they deny the yesodos. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm thinking of a specific example, but I don't want to say it with the recording on.
I'll pause the recording. Hold on. Recording. So this is someone who pretends to be pious and really is design. And it's interesting. It's not that they're pretending to be pious and violating halacha. It's they're pretending to be pious and they're denying the Yesodei HaTorah. Okay, they're orthoprax. Okay. All right, so let's see what he says. Eved Hashem LeDavid.
And that'll be interesting with the Rambam then, being that it's like the opening to like you said, Torah.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's a question that I in the Rambam shiur I acknowledge I methodologically don't know how to approach. Like, is the Rambam just borrowing the phrase? Is he taking it from context? Like, we didn't really know. So I think we came up with a good idea there. If I don't remember the idea. I'll have to listen to this year. Yeah. But yeah. So it is a good question. Yeah. Okay. So Eved Hashem LeDavid, for a servant of Hashem for David. Klomar, namely, in other words, Shu davak be'emunaso yisaleh. So what does it mean that he's an Eved? It means that he clings to his emuna in God. May he be exalted. Dibuk chazak, with a strong clinging. Umarchik umatayev kol hakofer ba, and he distances himself and abominates anyone who denies it. Hein bichlal, hein bifrad, whether in general or in particular. Meaning, I think that's qualifying the denier, whether they deny all of the Yesodei HaTorah or just one of them. Kamamar, as it says, Chavir ani l'chol asher yirucha. I am a friend to anyone who fears you. I assume the you is God. Uve miskomamecha eskotat. I quarrel with those who quarrel with you. Okay, so that's why it's saying Eved Hashem LeDavid. So it's interesting because it doesn't say. The implication is he's not being called Eved David because he's equal to Moshe. Why is he being called Eved LeDavid? Or Eved LeHashem?
Because he's full-heartedly devoted.
Yeah, it's emphasizing, it's underscoring how faithful he is to Hashem as opposed to the Kofrim. So if we weren't contrasting this with the Kofrim, we wouldn't necessarily call him an Eved Hashem. Almost reminds you of like Noach, Ish Tzadik Hayat Tamim Hayat B'Dorasav, that he's Tamim in comparison to his generation. You know, not to downplay David, but it's. I just don't want to like use Moshe's praises, like just scatter them out. Like you get Eved Hashem, you get Eved Hashem, you get Eved Hashem, you know? Okay. Neum pesha l'rasha b'ikar of libi.
I mean, but it's not you doing it, it's David doing it.
Right.
Yeah. But it sounds like the Meiri thinks David's not doing it though. Right. Yeah.
You don't want to say that David's doing it either.
I don't want to say that David's doing it either. Yeah. But Machlokus, by the way, I meant to talk about this last week, but I guess I forgot. Whether Tehilim is Nevuah or Ruach HaKodesh. And then if it's Ruach HaKodesh, is it all from David or is it from David and other people? Machlokas.
No one holds it's Nevuah, but from other people?
I don't think so. At least Sadigon says it's Nevuah entirely from David, even the ones that are attributed to other people. Yeah, and Ibn Ezra brings on many opinions, but he says, for example, that the ones that are attributed to other authors or about later events were said by later authors in later times, and they're added. Yeah, and there's Ruach HaKodesh, yeah.
I've heard radical Bible critic theory that has no basis whatsoever.
Yeah. Whoa, that's quite a pattern there. Okay. Ne'um Pesha LaRasha, B'kerev Libi. All right, Klomar, Ma'amar, where do we go next? Ma'amar ha'chet va'pesha asher LaRasha. So this is the statement of sin and rebellion to the Rasha or of the Rasha. Hu B'kerev Libi is in the midst of my heart. Klomar, in other words, Ani makir b'sichli devarav u'machshavto. I recognize with my intellect his words and his thoughts. Even though he portrays himself, he pretends he's a chassid and he portrays himself as a Baal Emunah. So this is David talking according to Meiri. So how's he reading it? He's reading it as, yeah.
The David, in David's heart, in David's mind, he sees that the Russia is. Sorry, how do you translate new?
Saith.
Saith. He knows that iniquity is speaking to the Russia.
Yeah. So iniquity speaks to the Russia. In my mind, meaning David sees that iniquity speaks to the Russia. In Pachalokim leneged einav, and I see that there's no fear of God in his eyes. So David sees through his ruse. Yeah. Okay. In Pachad Elokim leneged einav, she'eno mamin begmul v'onesh. Okay, so now he's being specific about which fundamental he's denying. He does not believe in reward and punishment. V'hu amro. Was it?
Never heard it called.
Oh yeah? I feel like that's a fairly common phrase. Yeah, gumul v'onesh. Gumul can be used for both reward and punishment, by the way. Yeah. But yeah.
Usually scholar.
Yeah, I think that's what Isaac's saying.
General.
Yeah. I mean, Rambam calls it the Shar HaGamul, not the Shar HaSchar. Yeah. V'hu amru. What?
You don't want to write.
Yeah. V'hu amru. This is his statement. Ki hechalik einav beinav. He smoothed out with him in his eyes. Limso avano lisno, to find his iniquity to hate. Klomar. What does this mean? Uvizos hakfira, with this denial, hechalik la'atma, he smoothed out for himself. Raslomar hanaim henim la'atma, he made pleasant for himself. So smooth out is like to rationalize in a pleasant way, I guess, is how we would say it. Uve'enav, and in his eyes, Raslomar biremizus enav lasos rak ra, with hints of his eyes, winking, excessive winking, to do only evil. Ulachapis ulachazer achar ha'avon, and to search and pursue the iniquity. Achar she'ino yara min ha'oresh, because he doesn't fear sin. We'll summarize it after we finish the pasuk. V'limtzo avono, to find his sin, his iniquity. Ratzalmer ulachapis ulachazer achar v'shim sa'eno, to search for and to look after until he finds it. Kederech roots matza na esachitim, run now and find the arrows. So find means like to search and find. That's what he's quoting the pasuk, not just to find. Klomar chapes acharim ad shetim sa'im, meaning search after them until you find them. Umilas lisno, and what does it mean to hate? Raslomar lisno hatov, to hate the good, not to hate the avon. Kederach as Hashem azvu lishmor, as it says, they abandoned Hashem to guard. Klomar lishmor derachav, to guard his ways. Meaning they abandoned Hashem in terms of guarding his ways. So this is, they abandon the sin in terms of to hate the good. I don't know what he's saying, but he's saying it's to hate the good. O ye pirush limto avono, or to find his iniquity means klomar shahayu drachim ne'imi me'inav, that his ways are pleasant in his eyes. Ad shehaviuhu limto avono lahe'anesh, until he finds his iniquity to be punished. Ad shesana b'chayav, until he hates his life. So the question is he hating the good or is he hating his life because of the punishment? Okay, I feel like the first way is better because he's denying reward and punishment. So if he's getting his comeuppance in pasuk gimel, then what's the rest of the perek about? Okay. We'll put it together after we finish this half. Divrei piv aven umirma. The words of his mouth are iniquity and deceit. Klomar kfiros b'divrei sheker. So the mirma here, I would have assumed mirma was like deceiving people. He's saying it's deceiving people in terms of his beliefs about God. So meaning denials and words of sheker. Chadal haskil, he has ceased to comprehend. Klomar mana atzmo halimud b'chachma v'torah. Okay, so it's not just a straight of denial. He's also withheld himself from learning chachma and Torah because he doesn't want to face the truth, because he can't handle the truth. right? Ad sheyetiv darko mitoch limuda, until he improves his way, or to the extent that he would improve his way from his learning. In other words, he's withholding himself from Torah and Chachma because that would lead to an improvement in his ways through learning. Ki kol kach hushka b'kfira. Yeah.
It doesn't sound to me like he's saying that he's doing it because of that. It's that he's withholding himself from doing that, and therefore he's not going to get the improvement that would come about through learning.
You could read it that way, or you could read it the other way. I don't know. Mana ad. He's withholding himself until. Could be the until is part of his intention, or it could be just the result. Ki kol kach hushka b'kfira. He's so entrenched in denial she'af eno rota lilmod darchei Torah, that he doesn't even want to learn the ways of the Torah. Uva chadal lahaskel lahediv, and he comes to cease to comprehend, to do good. B'kesher halamed, in regards to the lamed, kamo v'yechta l'livnos ha'ir, they ceased building the city. That's Migdal Bavel. V'techtal l'daber eleha, and she ceased to speak to her. I don't know what that is. It's in Rus, but I don't know what that is. V'chazar v'amar, okay, one more pasuk and we'll summarize. And it went back and it said, Avin yachshov al mishkavo, he contemplates iniquity on his bed. Klomer, shamishkav hu makom hamachshava v'tzir harayon. So the bed is a place where he thinks, and he, sorry, Isaac, pictures his thoughts. The Amar shekol machshavosav avin, and it says that all of his thoughts are iniquity. V'yisyativ al derech lo tov, and he sets himself on a path that's not good. Shekol kach yashkiuhu kfirosav. That's like the third time he said this. He's so entrenched in his denials, be'emunos hachaseros, in his deficient beliefs. Shelo yuchal lahis. Oh, this is an important point. Shelo yuchal lahis alim legamre. He cannot completely conceal them bihischasto, in pretending about his piety. So he's not succeeding in his ruse. Okay. Aval, rather, Yamod al emuna bilti shlema. He remains with a belief that is incomplete. Aval pi shelo yisparsim atma mikovakol, even though he doesn't completely publicize himself. Okay. V'zehu inyan ra lo yimas. This is what it means when it says he does not despise evil. Klomar, what does it mean? Lo yimas hamufursamim betachlis ra emunasan. He does not despise the publicizing with the utmost of the beliefs of his evil beliefs, to distance from them properly. What does that mean? Doesn't despise other people who publicize?
I think it's not just that he lets a few slip through occasionally, but there's a few that he is okay with publicizing. That's what sounds like.
Yeah, I was thinking lo yimas hamafur samim, those who are public, but tachlis ra emunasan, in the utmost of their evil, meaning he's concealing it, but there are people who are like open in their kafira, and he does not fully despise them.
Yeah.
To distance himself from them properly. So like what I'm picturing here is like these guys spout their kafira, and like he waggles his eyebrows and licks his lips. Like he's not saying his kafira outright. He's like, yeah, like he's siding with them, but he's not being open about it. Yeah. Okay, so now we got a big picture of these, and then it goes into we'll just read one more line. Now it goes into the perfect beliefs, or complete beliefs, shem keneged emunos harasha, that are against the emunah of the rasha. So let's try to figure out the first half now in the remaining 5 minutes. Okay, so yeah, so what is the main idea of the first 5 psukim here?
Yeah.
But it's concealed kfira, and that's the interesting thing, right? That this is not an open kofir. So I feel like we have to raise the question: why is he concealing it? Meaning, like I almost want to be Eliyahu Navi. Ad masayed atem poskim ashtei seifim, right? How long are you going to jump between these two fences? Like, if Hashem is God, go after him. If Baal is God, go after him. These people are, and it's not just that they're pretending to be religious; they're pretending to be pious. Mischastim, and they're concealing their kfira. So that's like in other words, we're not talking here. I'm associating to our pasuk in Mishlei from I don't know when. I can't keep track anymore. When did we say this? That the people who aren't. Oh yeah, last night. It's not the people who. There's one person who's just overcome by his yetzer, his taivas. Okay, fine. But then there's people who are preaching like a philosophy of corruption. So that shows that they're not just like giving it to the taivas, you know? So like, I'm not saying that's the same personality, but here, this guy is masquerading as someone who's pious and pretending to be a believer, but in his heart, he denies reward and punishment and feels comfortable plotting evil in his bed because he thinks there's no punishment and identifying with people who are full-fledged kofrim. So that's like a very specific kind of Russia, you know? And I think the pesha, I think we have to translate the pesha as rebellion now, because this is not just ordinary shogeg chait. This is like, he's got a rebellious streak here, you know?
I think he doesn't want the social consequences of being a kofar.
That would be I think the most likely cause, right? Is that why would you pretend to be a chassid when in your insides you don't believe and you also like don't hold that you're going to get punished only for the social, like you're afraid of man, but you're not afraid of God, or like you don't hold that God is involved, you know? So you're going to keep up the act for people and you're going to like play up the act for people. And not, but even though you don't believe it. Yeah, I think that's a good shot.
Yeah, but there's going to be cracks in the facade.
Right, there's gonna be cracks in the facade because what's the Abraham Lincoln thing? Is you could fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, right? And so like he'll like, you know, put on his tefillin, and then like get caught or not get caught, but like, you know, be checking his text on Shabbos or whatever, you know, like yeah. So it's a very, very specific kind of Russia, which is very, I feel like very contemporary.
Yeah. He'll have like read receipts on someone who texted him from Israel.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then the second half in the remaining 2 minutes, what's the main idea? I mean, like, what's the contrast here? Because he talks about Hashem's chesed. That on the surface is incongruous. If David talked about his own righteousness and his own integrity, that would be very fitting. But why are you talking about Hashem and the way Hashem relates to man? Mishol chastecha liodecha, yurviu mideshem beisecha, bashmaim chastecha, ma'yakar chastecha, adamu v'hema toshia Hashem.
I think the whole point is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the first part is specifically the Russia is very focused on the realm of man and like looking at what people are doing.
Yeah.
And he's very focused on that. And so, in contrast, the person who's actually like a chassid isn't thinking about that at all. He's not thinking about the fact that he's, let's say, looking like a chassid.
Mm-hmm.
He's just focused on chassid Hashem.
I like that, but I still find it weird. Focusing on chesed Hashem is weird when we've been talking about the emuna of the Russia. If it focuses on emes Hashem, that would be more congruous. But why focusing on God bestowing chesed? Or if you're talking about God punishing the Rashayim, I'd be down with that also. You know, like the Russia denies the schar v'onesh, and David HaMelech affirms that people who deny that are going to get punished. So why the chesed and the teshua and the yechasayun and the knafecha and the chesed? Like, it's all talking about God's excess good, yeah?
Because didn't Meiri say that the guy specifically denying schar v'onesh?
Yeah.
So, like, the chesed, I mean, it could be taken in that framework as a result of good that you do. Yeah. And so that's going to be the exact thing that would hypothetically like turn this guy around. Mm-hmm. That like seeing like the hashgacha and the direct. Okay, that's interesting. So it's like it's curative. My question is like, would that affect this kind of guy? Logically, it's the idea he needs, but would this guy accept it? Tune in next week for the exciting conclusion. Yeah, yeah. So we'll have to wait till next week. Yeah. Okay. Good. But it's I feel like we have a foot in the door though. Yes. Okay. Good. It was not a total confusion fest. Yeah. Yeah. All right. See you next week. So Joe.